Have you ever seen a world leader do an impression of another world leader in public? Well, today we're digging into that exact moment when Donald Trump did just that, openly mocking the leaders of India and France. Was this just him being an entertainer, or was there something much more strategic going on? Let's dive in.
So it all went down during a single speech. First, he sets his sights on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he mimics him with this really subservient accent, as if Modi was just begging to get a meeting with him.
And then, literally just moments later, he pivots to French President Emmanuel Macron. This time, the impression makes Macron sound like he's secretly pleading with Trump. It was a pretty jaw-dropping moment in public diplomacy, to say the least.
So you have to ask, right? Why do this? Why would you publicly put down your peers on the world stage? Was this just for laughs, or was there a much deeper, calculated reason behind it?
All right, let's start with the official reason Trump himself gave for the whole thing. And it really all boils down to his frustration over business deals and, well, delays.
According to Trump, his impersonation of Prime Minister Modi wasn't just a random jab. It was his way of making a point. When our allies buy American military gear, it takes way, way too long to actually get it to them.
And he was talking about a very specific deal here, an order from India for 68 Apache attack helicopters. Trump's complaint was that a delivery like this could take up to 5 years, and in his view, that was just totally unacceptable.
So the narrative he's building is that he's the ultimate deal maker, right? He's the guy who can slice through all the red tape. And that's a core part of his political brand, the leader who gets things done when the system itself is broken.
But, as a lot of commentators pointed out, the helicopter deal was probably just what was on the surface. The real friction, the deeper conflict, was all about India's firm stance on trade. So the disagreement really came down to two major U.S. demands. First, the U.S. wanted India to open its markets to more American farm products, including genetically modified crops. And second, they wanted India to stop buying oil from Russia. But India, they refused to budge on either point, saying it was all about protecting their own national interests.
India's position was crystal clear. Trade has to be a two-way street. It has to benefit both sides. This refusal to, as one source put it, surrender to what the U.S. wanted became a huge point of frustration for the administration.
But this story isn't just about foreign policy. Now, to really get the full picture, you have to look at what was happening back home. We're talking about a president who is under a ton of pressure.
Just before he gave this speech, his approval rating had dropped to a low of just 39%. Now, for any leader, especially one who really cares about their public image, numbers like that are an alarm bell. It creates this urgent need to do something, anything, to rally your base.
And this political vulnerability was absolutely key. The midterm elections were right around the corner, and these were elections that could completely shift the balance of power. Trump was even openly worrying about impeachment. And so analysts suggest that kicking up a foreign policy controversy can be a really effective tool to distract from problems at home.
And we've kind of seen this playbook before. Take his military actions in Venezuela, for example. Most Americans were not on board, but the polls showed that about a third of the country did support it, and that was just enough to give his approval rating a little 3-point bump. It just goes to show you how firing up even a minority of your supporters can be politically useful.
So when you put all the pieces together, what was the real motivation here? Was he trying to distract from issues at home? Was it all a show of strength for his base, a tactic to get an edge in negotiations, or was it just genuine frustration bubbling over? The answer is probably a little bit of all four.
Okay, so that's the why from Trump's side. But how did India respond to being publicly mocked like that? Well, their answer was fascinating. A strategy of silence.
Instead of firing back, which is what you'd expect, they did nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. No angry press releases, no diplomatic protests. They chose complete and total silence. So the question is, why?
Well, India's silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a seriously calculated strategy. See, they had billions of dollars in investments from U.S. companies on the line. Getting into a public shouting match would just give Trump a reason to block those deals. So the game plan was simple. Don't take the bait, protect your economic interests, and just wait out the political storm until after the American elections.
And it really shows you something interesting about modern diplomacy. In a high-stakes game like this, sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to just refuse to play, choosing long-term economic stability over getting in a short-term verbal fight.
And that really brings us to our final question, the one I want to leave you with. In this world of loud, often confrontational politics, is silence sometimes the strongest response you can have? Thanks for watching.